Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 262nd ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the MSP studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How you doing today, Kyle?
Doing great, Cameron. I was watching a lot of football this past weekend.
I would hope so.
The Chiefs lost.
Yikes.
Last week. But it's okay.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is. They're the Chiefs, man.
Chiefs fans out there, how you feeling?
I think it's funny. Like, I was just thinking about the difference between, like, I'm a big fan of Chiefs. I'm a big fan of Mizzou. But the way that I watch those games is so totally different.
Yeah.
And, like, my reactions to the occurrences in the game are so totally different. Like, the Chiefs could lose, like, 2 or 3 games in a row. And, like, I'll just be like, it's fine.
Yeah.
We got Patrick Mahomes. Like, we got Andy Reid. They'll figure it out. They always do. And just get to the playoffs and we'll be fine. And watching a Mizzou game, it's like everything is awful. Like literally every play, if one single play goes, not even a whole game, one single play goes wrong, I'm like, it's over, the season's over, everything sucks.
It's almost like one of those teams has built up goodwill in the fan base by, winning games and winning championships and taking, there's one regime that has taken this program to new heights, and then there's another one that hasn't done any of that in recent memory, and so the fan base has no trust built up.
That could have something to do with it.
Is there that much trust with the Chiefs to where, like, if they're get bounced out of the wild card round, do you think the fan base is like, we'll try again next year, reconstruct some things and try to give it another shot?
Not necessarily, no. I think I might be a little bit unique with the Chiefs fandom. Like, I've seen Chiefs Twitter. It's a lot like Mizzou Twitter.
Oh, I see.
Even with how good the Chiefs are. So I think I might be a unique case there, at least a little bit.
So it takes a lot for you personally to get to into kind of like a mindset of despair and
I'm disappointed we started off 0-1. Like, it's not like I don't care, but it's like it's much easier for me to just bounce back and be like, oh, long season, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, you only have to, you might only have to win 8 or 9 games to sneak into the playoffs. We'll be fine.
True.
But with college football, you lose like a couple games and it's like the trajectory of the season is like totally off and you can't make the playoff and all that,
Good thing Missouri's 2-0.
Hey, there you go.
So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about this 2-0 Missouri Tiger football team, and that's pretty much all we'll talk about today. Nothing else going on. So before we get into it all, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review wherever you listen to us, and of course, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. Tigers are 2-0 for the first time since 2018, Kyle. That means everybody's excited.
Everything's good.
Nothing
to worry about, nothing to complain about at all.
Except it's the exact opposite of that, because in those 2 wins, Missouri has shown no sign of learning from last year's mistakes, and the fan base. I can't get over the fact that, like, before week 1, I was thinking everything's fine. Let's not be too critical of these first 2 games because we just need to see the offense put up some points. We need to see Brady Cook throwing the ball around, show us what he can do a little bit against these inferior opponents.
Because I think we unfortunately thought that would happen.
Yeah.
Is the problem.
Exactly. Chill everybody out a little bit, and then we'll see where we are for the Kansas State game.
Yep.
There's no reason to be talking too much about the future. And unfortunately, after 2 games, the only thing that has happened is at every step of the way, we've been reminded what this team is lacking and
who the coach is. And we've been reminded that as far as we can tell at this point, nothing has changed, nothing will change, and Missouri's going to go 6-6 until Coach Drinkwitz is no longer the coach. That's kind of roll the credits. End of the episode.
Kind of what everybody's feeling like. So let's talk about how we got here. Missouri beats Middle Tennessee. Final score was kind of irrelevant. 23-19.
Monsters Inc. Anybody?
Yep.
23-19. Was that the door? Was that what?
It's like
that's the code for contamination.
Yes.
We got 23-19. Yeah, won by 4 points, was favored by 20 and a half, 21 points.
Yeah, 21. Yeah. 21-point favorites, scored 23 points total.
Wow. 23-0 shutout, just like Vegas predicted.
Yeah.
Run through the stats here real quick. Brady Cook, 14 of 19, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown. Cody Schrader, 23 carries for 84 yards. Pete, 8 carries for 51 yards. Luther Burden, I think new career high for game receiving yards, 8 receptions for 117 yards for him. The offense, I don't know where to begin here. The offense looked so conservative. Brady Cook looked rough at times and was not asked to do a whole lot. Honestly, I mean, obviously only threw the ball 19 times. Where to begin with this offense other than I can't believe how little improvement we've seen so far compared to last year's team.
Yeah, I can't believe we're 2 games in and we're already this mad. Yeah. We already have these many bones to pick.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we were frustrated after week 1, and it was kind of like, well, FCS team, whatever, they'll figure it out. They did not figure it out. Week 2 was worse. Luckily, we won. But I would say, I mean, I guess I will just kind of go through it step by step here, but it was a step back for the offensive line. I thought they looked really good in week 1. That was kind of like a highlight for me in week 1 was like, okay, at least we're going to probably have some better protection here. Mm-hmm. We were getting like 5+ yards a carry, maybe probably more than that, honestly, in week 1. But they struggled a little bit more in this game. Brady Cook was getting pressured a lot. He doesn't handle pressure well at all. He doesn't process very quickly, so that's already like kind of an issue. Cameron Johnson, like, kind of just thought he'd be a plug-and-play guy from Houston, has really struggled so far. I kind of think his job might be in jeopardy for this week. They've talked about working in Marcellus Johnson, Logan Reichert, or EJ Ndoma-Ogar at right guard. I don't know if that will actually happen, but they've talked about how they might kind of shake up the offensive line, try and get somebody else in there, which is weird that they'll even try that because they won't change anything else in the whole football team.
Right.
But after 2 games, they'll fire up the offensive line changes.
Well, offensive line has been a pretty go-to area for Coach Drinkwitz to tinker with on the offensive side of the ball, where he has otherwise been unwilling to make much changes over the years. It seems like every year, 2 or 3 games into the season, he's talking about the offensive line and maybe making changes. Literally the exact same thing happened last year after the Kansas State game. And if I'm not, I might be misremembering, but in his post-game press conference, when he said, talked about switching up things on the offensive line potentially, personnel-wise, I should have said it out loud to somebody, but I thought I would put money on the depth chart. The offensive line on this upcoming depth chart will look exactly the same. I would put money on that because I'm pretty sure the exact same thing happened last year, where he said something's got to change on the offensive line. Every position is up for grabs. Every position is a competition this week in practice. And then there were no changes on the depth chart because I can only assume they went back to practice and was like, oh, actually the 5 best guys have been out here, but it's just been a struggle.
It's kind of like whenever we see a tweet from President Biden and he's like, oh, we gotta do this and we gotta do that. And I'm like, well, buddy, you're in charge. So
exactly.
You can make it happen. It's kind of the same energy. It's like, we gotta make these changes on the offensive line and stuff. I'm like, well, you're the coach of the team.
Somebody figure out who's in charge here and let them know.
Yeah. Can we get some changes around here? It'll probably be just the same exact group that rolls out there for Kansas State. Maybe they make a change if things aren't going well.
Maybe the distribution of snaps is a little bit different, but the depth chart hasn't changed. I wrote down a couple of things here from the start of the game. Obviously, again, a very slow start for Missouri's offense, but the defense came out super strong. So to compare, the first 3 Middle Tennessee drives combined for 16 yards on 10 plays. So excellent work from the defense right out the gate. Gave gave the team every opportunity to put this thing away early. The defense was doing exactly what they needed to do. Missouri's first 4 drives just weren't much better than what Middle Tennessee was doing. Missouri's first 4 drives, 21 plays for 70 total yards and 3 points. Score was 3-0 for a lot of the first half. And it just immediately, 4 drives in, we've got a made field goal and nothing else. Nothing was working. Brady Cook had the deep ball to Burden. That was the first play after Schrader got a first down. Underthrew him a little bit, but Coach Drink says we never want to overthrow Luther Burden. So, and I watched it back, and that wasn't the worst throw by any means. I mean, I kind of get where they're coming from. You want to give the receiver an opportunity to come back to the ball and go up and get it. And I do feel like this is kind of a classic Coach Drink thing where if he doesn't catch it, you want the second opportunity there of a pass interference call. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Coach Drink does that a little bit. That annoys me. It would not annoy me at all if they were winning, obviously. But it's one of those things that when things aren't going well, I just want to criticize everything. And the way he thinks about drawing penalties annoys me for some reason. Like trying to draw the defense off sides and it never working.
Yeah, it's like he's looking at the most incredible detail whenever there's like these huge macro problems going on.
Exactly. But he's like, I think we could get a slight advantage here if we just practiced throwing the ball not too deep so that maybe we could draw a penalty. Like, okay, yeah, in theory, you're exactly right.
For the one time they throw it deep all game.
Yeah, exactly. So honestly, Cook's throw there I didn't think was the worst thing ever. Burden had an opportunity to make a play. Doesn't happen. But the first half, just almost the entire first half, nothing going on for Missouri's offense. Middle Tennessee finally scored a touchdown to take a 7-3 lead in the second quarter. And thankfully, that did wake up Missouri's offense a bit because they scored a touchdown on 3 consecutive drives. The defense only gave up a field goal. So at that point, we're up 23-10. And I'm thinking, okay, that was rough for a little while, but we figured something out here. We're scoring touchdowns. This is going to be okay. We could maybe even cover the spread here. And Missouri has the ball with 13 minutes left in the game. We cross midfield, look like we're going to go down here and score, put the nail in the coffin. And we get to 4th down, 4th and 1 on the Middle Tennessee 44-yard line and punt the ball. And that's a play that everybody's been talking about. Coach Drink was asked about it in the post-game press conference, and everybody's upset about it, and rightfully so. I just completely disagree with that decision. And in that moment, when you are potentially driving to extend, you're driving down the field to take off 3 or 4 minutes of the game clock potentially. I don't know. It just seemed like such an opportunity with all that momentum. The offense finally putting points up. Let's just keep it going.
Yeah. I want to make sure I reiterate here. We're talking about Missouri getting into opponent territory at their 44-yard line.
Yeah.
We're almost in field goal range almost.
Yeah.
And 4th and 1, and you punt the ball? Like, I'm not even gonna dance around it. That's just objectively the wrong decision. Yeah. And I think, he said he doubled down, and in the post game presser he said that's what we want to do with our defense. We're gonna pin them deep, make them go 80 yards instead of 50. And already he's just having this defeatist attitude, like thinking about what's gonna happen if they don't get it.
Yeah.
And instead of thinking about what would happen if they do get it, and like it's not hard to just push that thing up the middle for just QB sneak that thing, which of course somebody tell Coach Schenk what a QB sneak is, because he either tries to draw people off sides or punt, and he doesn't do anything in between. But
he said, I think that's the right play every time.
It's truly horrendous coaching, in my opinion, to not go for it there. If you don't get it, then your defense is good enough to bend and not break there. And guess what? If you punt the ball, okay, they did punt it.
Yeah.
So in literally 3 plays, they were right back where they were.
They went on to score a touchdown.
Yeah, it's just
83 yards. Yeah.
You had the opportunity to put the game away right there. You needed 1 yard, incredibly low risk situation, high reward, and you gave the ball back to the other team. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if does coach know that when you punt the ball, you give the ball back to the other team, and you have to have it to score.
One thing that I couldn't believe is that drove me crazy watching the game is okay, you have a fairly conservative game plan calling the plays. We're handing the ball off a lot, only throwing the ball 19 times, a lot of underneath routes, a lot of quick passes. And that's okay. Not fun to watch as a fan, honestly, but I understand this, methodically moving down the field, just nickel and diming them, but, this death by 1,000 cuts strategy. But that pairs nicely with being aggressive on 4th down. Those two things go together well.
Kind of wear the other team down.
Yes, exactly. And, they finally got us to 4th down, but no, of course, we're just going to keep it going. Yep. We're just going to slowly but surely move down the field. We've seen teams do that against Missouri, and we're like, please just punt the ball.
It's demoralizing.
To do both, call the game conservatively, and then also not apply pressure in those high leverage situations at home against a team that your offensive line, especially run blocking, should just destroy them. It was just really rough and not fun to watch.
Yeah. I have quite a few other things to complain about that kind of center around that theme of being too conservative, but you can kind of finish the game up here.
Yeah, let me run through the last few moments here. So we punt the ball, Middle Tennessee scores a touchdown. Okay. Well, then the next Missouri possession is the Brady Cook fumble into the end zone out of bounds for a safety. Luckily, Missouri's defense is good and forces Middle Tennessee into a 4th down. They don't convert. We get the ball back. But honestly, even the last drive where Missouri's trying to put the game away, and they can't even do that in a way that is satisfying to watch for a fan, because they actually had a good play to Weiss to basically end the game, get a nice 1st down. He made a big play, but it's the offensive pass interference call on Luther Burden that I think was a bad call. If you watch it back, the defender's grabbing and holding on to him just as much as it's very mutual there. And so then we actually do get a 1st down because of a defensive pass interference. And there's just the ugliest way to win the game. And then Brady Cook's trying to run the clock out, running around. And I just thought
that really bothered me, actually.
This whole sequence here could not be less aesthetically pleasing and just fun to watch as a football fan.
Yeah, I think it's really telling that they're just terrified to lose.
Yeah.
And everything that they do, the whole game is centered around not losing.
Yeah.
And the thing where Brady is running around with the ball, trying to, instead of just taking a knee like a normal person, he's running around and kind of it's just
to get those extra 3 or 4 seconds
I'm
off.
actually bothered by that. I've never seen anybody do that ever.
You're bothered by it just for the sheer goofiness
it's
of
so
it?
Goofy. Yeah. You were just trying, I don't know, man. You're so scared. And against Middle Tennessee State, play like an actual SEC team. Just go win the game. Go beat the other team. And I don't know. I've never seen anybody do that before. And to just in that game, I just can't help but think it's just hilarious.
But that was another thing about the 4th down call is okay, maybe in a closer game, maybe there's a scenario where he goes for it there against a better team or something. But he said, up 13 there, they've got to go 83 yards. Their chances of scoring are a lot less than on the 50. I think it's the right play every time. And I'm thinking, no, please tell me if you're up in an SEC game like that
and you have a chance to just have this demoralizing drive late in the game, please tell me there is a situation where you would go for it there. No, apparently not.
I think basically any level of football I've ever watched with that situation, no matter where you are in the game, no matter how many points you're winning or losing by, objectively, it's the correct decision to go for it on fourth. Like I don't know. You have 4 downs to use. You do not have to punt on 4th down just because that's what people do sometimes. Like, it is another opportunity to get a first down, and you got to take those risks sometimes, especially in that situation. They need to do the old like tush push play that like Jalen Hurts does, or some of those NFL teams. Just like get a lineman behind the quarterback and just push him right up the hole.
Yeah,
like, it's just not that difficult.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a dozen different things they could do there.
Yeah.
That's not punt and probably get a first down. Did you have other examples of the conservative game planning?
Yeah, I had a few other things I wanted to say. Man, I'm not happy that only 19 players on offense have played through 2 games. Notably, only 2 running backs.
Yeah.
Still, like, basically, you've not, unless an injury occurs, you've basically lost your opportunity for any of the freshmen or the younger guys to play. Drinkwitz kind of followed that question up. He was asked about that.
Yeah.
And I think this week's presser kind of previewing Kansas State. And he basically just kind of alluded to the fact that they're really closely monitoring the redshirt status of players, of freshmen. They don't want to burn a redshirt too early and not be able to use them, or get them in their 4 games too early, and then they'd have to burn the redshirt later in the season or something like that.
Yeah, like that. Let me stop you for just a sec, because that kind of confused me a little bit. Is he saying like we don't want to have South Dakota and Middle Tennessee be 2 of the 4 games, and then we've got an injury, and now like we've got an injury later in the season, and now if we play whoever freshman in, we need them for like Kentucky, South Carolina, Georgia. Now we've burned their red shirt.
Yeah.
That's what he's thinking there?
That sounds like the thought process, because he gave the example of Dalen Carnell's freshman season. He had played 4 games, and then they kind of like and wanted to play him or needed him in the bowl game, but he couldn't play because, well, he could, but they chose not to play him because it would have been his 5th game, and they would have burned the red shirt.
I see.
So they're really, really scared of like burning these red shirt for freshman players whenever a lot of them are transferring anyway. I promise you it doesn't matter.
Right.
If they need to go in, they need to go in. And like I think this was a great opportunity to get them some play. You chose not to do that. And so now if there is an injury, the first time they're getting in there is against Georgia.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to go
Exactly.
well.
Yeah.
And I just remember Gary, and I remember thinking this kind of thing a few years ago. Like, preserve the red shirt as much as possible, get players another extra year for strength and conditioning, like really stretch this out as long as humanly possible, give them 5 years, because that's typically when players are at their best, after they've been in the program for a really long time. That's just not the landscape of college football anymore. And I think that if players are good enough to play, just get them in right now. And I remember thinking that way probably 10 years ago, and then Gary Pinkel kind of just being completely opposed to that thinking, and he would say, if they're good enough to contribute, we're going to play them, and it doesn't matter who they are, what year they are.
Yeah.
And I just can't help but think Gary Pinkel knew what he was talking about there.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that feels like it feels like another one of those things where it's like this weird planning for this weird contingency that is just hypothetical.
Yeah.
Instead of focusing on what's happening right now.
Don't worry about the redshirt situation.
Yeah.
That's so secondary to just winning the game.
Yeah.
Another note on just so few players are playing. When Mekhi Miller got injured in the second quarter against Middle Tennessee State, they just moved Mookie to the slot instead of just bringing somebody else in. So they're just like kind of moved guys around, and it's just like, just bring in a younger player.
Yeah.
Just like, let's see what somebody can do. And I think obviously everybody's pretty frustrated with the Sam Horn situation. I think that just everything just kind of falls in line with that. They're really afraid to play the younger players, and they're just kind of going for these high floor veterans. Like, we know what we're going to get from Cody Schrader and Nathaniel Pete. It's decent. It's not going to win the SEC, but they're not going to lose the game for you.
Right.
Well, I guess Nate Pete kind of did lose the game, but you know what I mean. He just loves opting for these high floor guys that aren't going to typically lose you the game.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of leaves us with this very unexciting, stagnant offense.
Yeah. You'd think, I don't know. You'd think I would feel none of this would bother me too much if the guys that are already out there were, if we had blown out South Dakota and looked good, if we had, put Middle Tennessee away when we had the opportunity, then these questions just don't come up. They're just not necessary. Then, yeah, well, whatever. We're happy.
Yeah, I don't care who plays.
Yeah.
If we're winning like we should.
Yeah. But getting these guys, it's less now like we need to get these guys some experience so that they're more ready next year or the year after. It's more like
they might be better.
We should consider putting these guys out there because they might make the team better right now.
Yeah, we might be more explosive. Do you think that if we were playing against a better team, they might opt to be more aggressive? Like, we're playing Middle Tennessee State. We don't have to play our best to win. And we're probably going to win that game like 9.5 out of 10 times, even if we don't play our best. Maybe not 9.5, but do you think that there's a little bit more of a like kind of do or die type style of play if we're playing against a Kansas State, for example?
Well, we're going to find out because Missouri's going to be losing against Kansas State, most likely for a lot of the game, and we're going to see what happens when you have to get the ball down the field and score touchdowns. But I had something I was going to say about that. What did you say again?
Do you think we'll see them have more of a kind of a more aggressive do or die type play style whenever they know they have to be more explosive to win? Because they can just kind of sit on the ball and win and still win against some of these other teams.
Right. So I'm trying to put myself in Coach Drinkwitz's mindset, and I'm thinking about the 4th and 1 punt, and just it's kind of hilarious if I'm putting myself in his shoes, how terribly that backfired on him. For Middle Tennessee to score the touchdown and then the next Missouri drive to be the fumble out of bounds for a safety. That was just like the ultimate. That's
why you don't do it.
If there was anything we could have done to like get us out of this timeline of events, we should have done it.
It would have been to just get the 4th down.
Going for it on 4th would have been that. Even if you don't get it, changes everything. But kind of hilarious that it just went as poorly as it possibly could there when you're thinking, okay, well, whatever, we punt the ball. Even if they score a touchdown, we get the ball back, run out the rest of the clock, game over.
Yeah.
But you have the safety, which is just hilarious.
What are you indirectly telling your team? Like, I don't trust you to get this? Like, I think that if you're playing in this game and you're getting the calls from the coach, you're thinking like, we're not going for this right now.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, I don't know. I just feel like even if you go for it and don't get it, at least it's like, hey, we did all we could do. The coach trusted us to do it, and it didn't work that time.
Yeah. Well, I think my answer to your question basically is yes, we will see them be more aggressive, but at this point, it's going to be because the offense starts slow and we're losing, and we have to go for it. We have to air it out a little bit more. To make something happen, to get back in the game. Yeah,
we spent so much time being angry with Brady Cook and how incredibly average he's been. And, that's just like the more I watch him and the more I watch Coach Drinkwitz just absolutely put his entire job and reputation on the line to defend him, makes me think that they're just this weird little like match made in heaven for each other where Brady's just looking to do everything he's asked to do because he's a good coachable player.
Yeah.
But Coach, the more I think about it though, the more I just realize that this is just totally Coach Drinkwitz's fault. That he's not asking Brady to do much, but that's the problem. And like he's not trusting him to just go out there and play and be an athlete. And I was watching Middle Tennessee State's quarterback last week. Can't remember his name. Vadiato.
Yeah.
Who honestly is not a super talented guy, probably. He's never going to play for an SEC team or anything like that, but he just was playing his butt off. He had nothing to lose.
Yeah.
He was playing so hard, and he wasn't thinking about anything. He was just going out there and doing exactly what he knows how to do. And
he was making plays just by going out there and playing.
Yes.
It felt like his game was free and easy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like I just see Brady just being stuck in the mud so much, like processing so slowly because he's just thinking about everything he's got to go through and just isn't being an athlete. And I feel like you could just see that so clearly in this Middle Tennessee State game. And I just think that's coaching.
So then to talk about the quarterbacks some more, obviously you've wanted to see Sam Horn out there this whole time, basically. And we kind of, before this game, we were kind of like, okay, I guess we're resigned to the fact that it's going to be Cook. As far as the coaching staff is concerned, he's their guy. What can we get from that? Can we rally around him? And can he elevate his game, take us to the next level? It didn't happen. It's probably not going to happen. It could still happen, but it's foolish to plan on that happening. But my question basically is, how could we expect anything more from Sam Horn when it's clear that this game plan is just so... It's actually the opposite. It does not complement Sam Horn's skill set. Sam Horn's skill set is to use his arm, air it out, and make some plays down the field. Yeah. In theory, because we haven't actually seen it because he doesn't get very many opportunities. But in theory, that's his style. And does it just
He's just too much of a gunslinger for this offense? It's just
I hate that like feels true.
I actually think it might be. Like, he just doesn't vibe with what they want to do. And it's just frustrating that I think that's why it is so frustrating, is because he just cannot get a real shot to go out there and just see what he can do. And yeah, he probably would do things that the coaches don't want him to do. So therefore they're going to play Brady Cook instead, because he just does everything they want him to do.
I'm looking up Connor Bazelak's stats from 2020 right now, because I know for a fact he had some games where he was just out there slinging it. And Connor Bazelak threw the ball 324 times in 2020. That was the 10-game SEC only schedule. Threw the ball 49 times against Arkansas, 40 times against Florida, 30-plus times against Mississippi State, Kentucky, LSU. Had 400-yard passing game against LSU. And that's just so unbelievable that this is the same offense that we're watching that was actually putting up points. And somebody in Discord pointed out, well, for a little while we had Tyler Beatty.
Yeah.
And I feel like after watching this offense for 4 years now, the offense needs either just a transcendent, probably has to be dual threat quarterback, or needs a transcendent pass catching elite running back.
Yeah.
Like, it almost doesn't matter. I mean, Luther Burden's having a good season, and he is on track because of how much they're targeting him and how often Brady Cook looks at nobody else on a drop back. He's going to have a good season stats wise. But when you have to rely on the quarterback throwing you the ball several yards away versus handing it to you in the backfield like Tyler Beatty had the opportunity to, then there's just that much more riding on you even touching the ball. And I don't know. I just can't.
It's a good point, actually. When at Drinkwitz one season at App State, when they went like 12-1, I was trying to think of his name before I was going to make this point, but they had an excellent running back who was just carried the team basically, and he went on to play in the NFL.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great point. Like, he just kind of needs a Tyler Beatty or some kind of really plus
Darrington Evans.
Yes. Some incredible plus athlete to make this thing go, and Brady Cook is not that, but I don't know, man. It's so frustrating. Just kind of seeing this team be exactly what it was last year.
It's just made me less interested in the quarterback competition that doesn't really exist anymore, because
it's over at this point.
I don't think Sam Horn was ever going to be able to do what we thought he could do, basically.
You might be right.
Where to go from here? I have a little bit more on Drink's post-game press conference. He was asked about only throwing the ball 19 times. He said that was not the game plan at all, to only throw the ball 19 times.
I feel like he says something like that a lot.
They want to get more opportunities for Theo Weiss. And I mentioned earlier, but we don't ever want to overthrow Luther, which I do get to some extent. He was disappointed in the O-line play. One note, he said they didn't expect to struggle as bad as they did with pressure. Well, sure, but I can't help but notice watching the game that nobody expected there to be any pass rush, it felt like. It felt like Brady Cook didn't expect there to be guys in his face.
He mentioned it last week in the presser, like previewing Middle Tennessee State, that Cody Schrader and Nathaniel Pete were going to have to be ready to pick up blitzes.
True.
So, like, you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So
They didn't expect it to go as poorly as it did.
I guess we didn't either.
We're going to kind of, at some point here, we're going to kind of transition to the Kansas State game via Coach Drink's press conference yesterday, but and then we'll probably have some more thoughts to kind of wrap everything up after that. But anything more about the Middle Tennessee State game specifically?
I think that's all the complaining I can think of for now.
Okay. Well, we'll get back to probably some more complaints in a minute. So now, Coach Drink talking about Kansas State. We talked a little bit about introducing competition at the right guard position. Says he wants to get Nate Pete more involved. He was asked specifically about the play calling situation, and who I'm not sure who asked the question, but it was nicely worded to kind of, it wasn't like a high pressure question, but Drink did say Kirby calls the plays, and when the offense is not out there, the entire offensive staff is discussing how things are going, but Kirby's calling the plays. And that's how it's always been when Drink was OC for a different head coach, that's how they did things, so they're doing it like that. He also mentioned Chad Bailey. They expected him to be a full participant Wednesday in practice, and he said, we'll see if he can give us a couple series. But then the depth chart came out. Chad Bailey's not on there, didn't really expect that, but like I said earlier, no changes on the offensive line. And we're going to need the offensive line to step up because we're playing Kansas State, who is 2-0, and they have a good pass rush. They have a good defense. We talked about them just a few weeks ago in our season preview, that they're just very well coached, very fundamentally sound, and what they've done so far this year in 2 games that you can't get a whole lot from, but they've been the opposite of Missouri, basically. They went out and shut out SEMO and won that game in week 1, 45-0, which is the opposite of what Missouri looked like versus South Dakota. And then had a little bit of a first half scare against Troy. We're only up 14-10 at halftime, but overcame that, won that game in week 2, 42-13. So after 2 weeks, this team that beat Mizzou 40-12 last year they're ranked 15th in the country, and they've shown against lesser competition that they can take care of business in a way that is just astonishingly different from Missouri.
Yeah, it's just exactly what we wanted to see out of Missouri this season, and just completely put our minds at ease, and to the point where we feel like we didn't really learn anything. And that's kind of where we are with Kansas State. I don't think we truly know how good they are yet. They haven't really been tested. I watched the first couple series of the SEMO game. They really did kind of struggle in those first couple series, through an interception. I think Will Howard, their quarterback, is solid, not elite, but he has the privilege of playing with a very, very good offensive line, and so typically he doesn't have to feel a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and they have a really good playmaker in Phillip Brooks. On offense, he's a wide receiver, also return specialist, and they'll hand it to him on sweeps and stuff like that. He was huge in the game against Missouri last year, and he's already shown up scoring touchdowns in multiple ways this year for Kansas State. So he's really good. They lose Deuce Vaughn. They pick up a couple running backs in the transfer portal. I think their rushing offense is definitely taking a step back this year from where it was last year. Kansas State fans expected the passing offense with Will Howard to bridge the gap and make their offense potentially even more dangerous this year. Still yet to be seen, but the potential is still there. He has thrown one interception in each of their first 2 games, so we'd love to see that continue. Defensively, they use that 3-man front, but then they are going to bring any combination of 3 linebackers on pretty much any down and distance. Sometimes they'll only rush those 3 front guys and drop everybody back. Sometimes they're bringing all 6 guys at the quarterback. They really like to just switch up there and disguise their blitzes and move guys around, incorporate the safeties and corners on getting after the quarterback. That's going to be...
Yeah. I think that's one thing that was so difficult last year was obviously pretty tough environment to play in. I think Kansas State was just a whole lot better than I think we thought they were going to be. They just came out and hit us in the mouth. We didn't know what to do. Yeah. But yeah, defensively, they are so good. They're well coached. They disguise what they're going to do really well. And I think that's one thing that maybe Brady has not developed super well yet, is how to kind of read pre-snap what's going to happen. Where is he going with the ball?
It's not going to do much good in this game.
And I don't think it's going to go super well again.
They're going to change it up on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be showing all 6 guys coming at the quarterback and then drop 3 of them back to their normal linebacker position. So, yeah, I don't envy anybody's job there on the offensive line, or Brady Cook for that matter. One thing that seemed to improve as the game went on against Middle Tennessee was early on, it seemed like Cook could not find anybody to check the ball down to, which is strange for him. It seemed like maybe the game plan was to focus on things down the field a little bit more, but the defense was bringing pressure, and for some reason we couldn't find the check down early. That improved in the second half, but there's still another. He could easily have 2 interceptions himself. He had one that just kind of floated over the middle that bounced off the defender's hands. But getting back to Kansas State, we're going to have to find receivers earlier in their routes to make this work. Mm-hmm. I was watching back. I pretty much watched all of Brady's dropbacks from the Middle Tennessee game, and just over and over again, I'm seeing him look. His first read is down the field, intermediate, deep. It's usually Luther Burden. Then I'm seeing him just basically ignore underneath routes where guys are wide open with leverage immediately out of their break. They're making a cut, and if the ball was there, it'd be a big play, or at least move the chains. But by the time Brady sees them, they're all the way across the middle of the field. The defense has passed them off to another guy in the zone, or they've caught back up to the play, and the opportunity's not there. And sometimes, though, they're still open enough to make the throw. But then that's where the play stops.
Yeah, there's no momentum of the running back or the receiver or whoever. They're not catching it in stride and turning it upfield because it's too late at that point.
It's too late.
All they can do is just kind of catch it and fall down or get tackled.
And half the time the throw's a little bit behind or high too. I watched that game twice basically. So
well, congratulations.
I'm still remembering things about it. But if Missouri's offense if Brady Cook can make a concerted effort to get off of that first read faster, then there's an opportunity to make more plays.
Yep.
If he can't get off that first read faster, throw it up to the guy more.
Yeah.
Don't even get off of it. Just throw it.
I think that's one thing I want him to do so badly sometimes. It's when I'm watching even other college football teams, it's they're playing so much more confidently. If we make a mistake, fine. We'll figure it out.
It's a long game.
Yes. Yeah. But we're so afraid to, take any risks, and we never just do a 50-50 ball. We never just throw it up to Luther Burden and let him, we actually did it one time in this game, in Middle Tennessee State game, and it worked out really well.
Yeah.
We have to be more aggressive in throwing the ball down the field, trust your receivers.
And on the touchdown pass to Weiss, a really good looking play, good pass, good throw, but it was he's basically covered, but I'm just going to throw it up to where my tall receiver can go get it.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yeah, I think, and probably one of the most frustrating things watching Brady try to process or go through his progressions is he'll just be standing there in the pocket like not looking at all. Like he's just laser focused on somewhere, on someone. And there's like all this stuff going on around him, and he has no idea. He's about to get sacked. He has no idea that like the pocket's collapsed and everybody's just coming in on him, and he's just standing still as a statue, like with his just looking straight ahead at somebody, waiting for them to get open or whatever.
There was one specific play where I think it should have probably been a touchdown to Weiss early, where it was tipped coming out of his hand like from behind, and I don't think he had any idea that that defender was there about to strip him.
Yeah, his pocket awareness was really, really bad.
And it's another example of
Mississippi State, Middle Tennessee State. I knew it was one of those long names.
Middle Tennessee State University. But that was another play where if you just get rid of that ball sooner, you shouldn't need to see your receiver with separation. Mm-hmm. You should know my guy can get separation. I just need to throw it where he's going to be.
Yeah, let him adjust.
Okay.
we regressed a little bit. Okay, but Kansas State, back to Kansas State.
Kansas State. Yeah. So find the underneath routes quicker, throw it up, let your receiver go make a play.
Yeah, you're going to have to.
The offense maybe has something there.
No way in the world are we marching into this game with the same game plan, the same level of aggressiveness, and thinking we're going to win this game. There's
go watch
no
Vadiato and number 15.
Yeah.
Watch what they were doing.
Exactly. Just watch those guys just leave it all out there and just play as hard as they possibly can, like their lives depend on it.
I'm pretty sure they converted a 4th and 7 at one point, trying to get back in the game, and then they had a fourth down touchdown that never should have happened. They got an extra play because they false started. Kansas State. Kansas State, Missouri's defense, I feel like we'll do an okay job stopping the run. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some plays where we're not happy because they gash us a couple times, but for the most part, I've been pretty happy with Missouri's run defense, and I think Kansas State doesn't have Deuce Vaughn, so they should expect a little bit tougher time running on the road against Missouri. It's going to really be, can we get a pass rush going?
Yeah, I've been really encouraged by the defensive line so far. The first game it was Johnny Walker who stepped up and was just everywhere, played really well. This past week I thought Niles Gaddy was great.
Absolutely.
I made some really big plays, had a couple sacks. Like he was playing great and kind of just perfectly filled in as that experienced guy coming up from FCS who kind of had the body type and just needed an opportunity, and so far he's playing really well.
The announcer accidentally called him a freshman at one point.
I think I remember that.
I wish.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he'd be on the bench.
Yeah, that's 100% true. But so I think that's going to be the key to the game is just make Will Howard have to move around in the pocket, make him uncomfortable because he has no problem just firing it away.
Yeah.
And even when guys aren't open, he's going to throw it anyway. And typically just over the course of a game against a lesser opponent, he's just going to have his way especially with the offensive line. He just hasn't really faced much pressure. He's only been sacked one time all season. So that has to change against Missouri. Like if Missouri's getting pressure, then, we might see a little bit different Will Howard. But if
speed him up a little bit, make him make a couple bad throws.
Yep. If they're not getting pressure, then he's just going to go to town.
Probably at this point, Brady Cook deserves to have an interception next to his name. Just some of the throws that he's made.
It's like they're afraid to have that interception in a stat line. Yeah. Just stop thinking about it and just go play.
At the same time, I feel like Missouri's defense has had a couple opportunities to come away with a turnover where there was a strip in the Middle Tennessee game. The ball just bounced out of bounds.
Yeah, still no turnovers yet.
Exactly. So I feel like probably in this game we see the offense turn it over. Well, Brady made up for no interceptions with the fumble safety situation.
Yeah, I guess Missouri has not forced a turnover yet.
Yeah. So, but I'm thinking we probably see one from each team in this one.
Yeah.
And
maybe that just helps him just get it over with.
Yeah, loosen up a little bit. But I still go back to I think it's definitely more on the coaching staff and the game plan than him at this point.
I think I would be insane to think that really anything's going to change too much. I think that I keep just buying this lie that we've been sold over and over and over that things will change. I think that if I have to hope at all that this game will be different, is just that the level of opponent is different. We can't come in and just play to not lose and beat Kansas State. We're not going to do that ever. So hopefully they realize that. Hopefully they realize we're going to have to play with some aggression. Man, I would be so devastated, but I probably won't be shocked if we just get boat raced again. I mean, last year's game barely even resembled like the sport of football. We were getting beat so bad, like we could barely complete a pass.
Yeah.
It was like pouring down rain. Like and it was so early in the season. It was just devastating. And so obviously this game has been circled on the calendar for a year. It's a big deal for so many reasons. It's honestly, maybe Coach Drinkwitz and his tenure at Missouri is depending on this game. And, I don't know if Missouri can win this game. I really don't know if they can, but I would love to see them come out, play aggressive, compete, just actually have an entertaining football game where we're going back and forth. Plays are being made on both sides. I just want to see an entertaining football game.
Unfortunately, there's not really any good reason to expect that.
I'm not expecting that.
No.
I'm just saying I would just be thrilled if that did happen. But
sure would be nice.
I just don't know that will.
I think there's a potential that this first half against Kansas State is going to be some of the worst offense we've ever seen from both teams. I think it's going to be a slog the first half. I think both defenses are going to look good early. I think Kansas State will. I think Missouri's offense will just be what we know it to be, enough that Kansas State is not going to have to do anything too crazy to win this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what Missouri does. They're going to want to shorten the game, make it ugly. The first half might be pretty close. We might go into halftime where this thing is 10-7 or something like that.
I feel like Kansas State just loves that. It's like Batman and Bane.
They're perfectly
Kansas
comfortable.
State is going to be like, oh, this is what you want to do? Okay.
Yep. This is not a good matchup. Missouri has proved they're not ready to be good yet, and I'm just afraid this is going to be really ugly again.
Kansas State's favored by 5 points, 5.5. It was like 3, then 4.5.
I saw it at 3.5 first, which I thought, man, that seems pretty low.
There was a correction.
Yeah, I still think it's too low.
I think Kansas State covers, but I don't think it's a blowout just because both teams are okay with not doing much for a while. Give me Kansas State wins this 27-20.
I'm sorry, everybody. I'm going to say Kansas State 35-13.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that's like 14-ish point difference from my prediction. I would really like it to be a one-score game. I feel like Vegas knows what they're doing a little bit here, but Missouri has shown that they don't want to have anything to do with covering the spread. The over-under is like 48, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm just under that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I would, there was nothing more demoralizing than the game just being over in the first quarter, which is what happened last year. So please, let's just have a fun football game, and we'll see.
Before we made our predictions here, before we get to SEC Pick'em, we didn't want to be doing this, but where are we at with drink right now? Because people are on the fire drink bandwagon or starting up the train. I don't blame you, but it's 2 games into the season. We're already doing this. We haven't even lost yet, but it's just like, oh, the way things look, it's like every close game. I mean, every toss-up game, every coin flip is going to be a loss. I want to point out there are other SEC fan bases going through some similar things right now where things haven't looked as good as they wanted it to early. I feel like Florida fans are panicky. South Carolina fans aren't doing awesome. Kentucky fans are a little nervous. I feel like there's opportunity still to just win a couple of these games because we're talking about 2 bad teams sometimes. And I feel like Florida did that against us last year.
We did that against South Carolina, where it was like, oh, you don't want to win? Okay, I guess we'll do it.
Yeah, honestly, by the end of like the SEC slate, a lot of times, like, I don't know, like sometimes you just get these randomly really soft performances from some of those teams. There's really good opportunities to win SEC games, and like at this point, like, and maybe I just have a little bit of PTSD after what we saw against Kansas State last year, and just how incredibly solid they are in every way. Mm-hmm. Like, I just feel like this is one of the least winnable games on the schedule outside of Georgia, and I mean, I don't know. Something about this game.
They are kind of like the opposite of Missouri.
Yeah, just like everything they do well is what we don't do well, and
they've been struggling a tad more this year than usual with penalties, and so there's that. Missouri hasn't been doing much better though. But the fact of the matter is, we play Kansas State, then we play Memphis, and then Vanderbilt. So decent chance we're 4-1 going into the LSU game.
Yeah.
And then you got the entire rest of the SEC slate where you only need to get, in theory, you only need to get 3 wins to get to 7 and improve. And then who knows what happens in a bowl game.
Right.
You could be looking at a, Texas Bowl champion 8-win Tiger team in Drink's 4th year.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're at a weird spot right now where it's like either be good or lose games.
Yeah, be good or let's see somebody else.
Seriously.
Like, let's put in some younger players. So I think Kansas State is going to tell us a lot. If we just get absolutely destroyed again, I mean, I don't know. I would like to think everything's off the table at that point. I don't think that Coach Drinkwitz is going to be fired mid-season, and I think it's probably not even that constructive to go there, really, or else you're just going to be miserable all season because it's not going to happen.
Crazy things would have to happen. They'd have to lose to Memphis and Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I 100% think he could be fired at the end of the season.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it when we get there. But for now, like, but if they do just get their butts handed to them in this game, like, I'm going to be right back there, like, wanting to see Sam Horn. I'm sorry, like, I'm not going away on the Sam Horn train, like, because I think I know what we have potentially. And, I'm not going to go away on seeing some of these younger players, just trying to see what we have and salvage the future.
Yeah, I still can't help but feel like the way it would go, and this is just the negative mindset speaking right now, but the way it would go would be like, oh, okay, we put Sam Horn out there, and now we realize, no, actually, only bad things are happening with the offense.
But at least we gave ourselves that opportunity.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just prove it to me that he can't play. That's all I want to know.
I guess, yeah.
I just tell me it's not going to, just let me see it with my own eyes, because at this point I don't trust the coaching staff.
6-6. DRF, she seems kind of aggressive as far as like being willing to make changes and stuff.
Yep.
I feel like after Konzo Martin's last season as basketball head coach, we were sitting there going, I think you bring him back another year.
We did?
Well, I mean, I feel like
it was like not as super, super clear cut, maybe.
It was not necessarily.
I think we were ready.
It was pretty similar to this situation, honestly, where it was like, if we were a fast-paced team scoring a bunch of points but losing quite a bit, that'd be one thing. But to not be winning enough and it be borderline unwatchable play on the court for basketball, that was like too much. And we're in that territory. We were in that territory last year, hoping something would change. I feel like we're right back there where it's like we're losing and it's miserable to watch.
Yeah, I think if we just keep going,
we're 2-0. We haven't lost yet this year.
I think if we just keep going at this rate and if we're 6-6 and just nothing spectacular happens whatsoever, I think there's a pretty good chance he's gone. Well, we'll get there.
Okay. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. We're still 2-0. There's a chance we turn things around. Maybe we see more against real competition than maybe the coaching staff was just thinking they didn't need to do anything special in these first 2 games.
Wouldn't that be a nice little pleasant surprise? They just come out and just look totally different.
And
I don't even go in
Drinkwitz
there.
was like
that's absurd.
Smiling with his Diet Coke, like, you guys you didn't think we had it in you.
Oh man, we're like dialing up like long balls, and we're just torching them.
Haven't seen a flea flicker in forever.
That's true. Where are those kind of plays gone?
No.
Too risky.
No. Yeah. Can't do that. All right. We're predicting a loss. Hate to do it, but it's the only sensible thing to do. Now, let's pick the rest of the SEC slate. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Actually have conference matchups this week.
We do.
Big games coming. How'd we do last week?
Okie dokie. Last week, we had a big slate of games. Cameron, you got 11 points. Kyle got 12. I got 11. And the guest pickers got 14.
Oh, my gosh.
Bringing our season totals to the three of us all have 19. The guest pickers have 21.
Shout out Tim.
Yeah.
Shout out Tim, guest picker last week.
Excellent work.
Guest picker this week is Britt.
Welcome in.
Good luck,
Good
Britt.
luck to you.
Hopefully, not good luck.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
That's not very cordial.
harsh.
Well, it is what it is.
You want to hear that music?
Yeah.
Oh,
Hopefully-
that's nice.
Nobody tell EA Sports that we're using this.
Yeah, talk over it so it can't
Yeah,
really
yeah.
figure it
Taco.
out.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Our first game this week is number 14, LSU at Mississippi State. LSU is a 9.5-point favorite.
You like Mississippi State at all this year?
I'm gonna be honest. Like Mississippi State's kind of like that one team that just like I don't really know what they're doing down there. They're kind of just existing.
Not on Missouri's schedule enough. What do you want us
we
to do?
don't play them very often. Like I don't know. They're probably
They're
gonna-
always like fringe top 25.
yeah. They're always like just kind of solid.
Yeah.
Never great. Never terrible.
They're at home though.
Yeah, it could be interesting. I think LSU will win.
Me too.
LSU for everybody. Next up is South Carolina at number 1, Georgia. Georgia is a 27.5-point favorite.
Imagine being favored like that in a conference game.
After you like haven't really played that well.
Yeah. Couldn't be us.
Could be us. And even if we were, the other team would cover. Yeah, Georgia has started off both of their games against terrible opponents, like really slowly, and then they just still end up blowing them out. But
Yeah.
I don't think Georgia's as good as they were last year, but that doesn't matter in this game. They'll still win.
Yep. Georgia.
Georgia all around. Next up is Vanderbilt at UNLV. Vanderbilt is a 4.5-point favorite.
Barry Odom.
Did you say at UNLV?
Yes.
Ooh, Barry Odom.
Bad history losing to Vanderbilt.
Oh my gosh. I was going to pick UNLV until you just said that.
I pick Vanderbilt.
Give me UNLV.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Britt takes Vandy.
Yeah, give me UNLV.
Ooh.
I think they'll the fighting Barry Odoms.
Barry.
They're gonna pull it off.
Next up is number 11, Tennessee at Florida. Tennessee is a 6.5-point favorite.
I think Tennessee's gonna win and cover.
Yeah, I'm with you there. My Florida sucks narrative needs to be reaffirmed here.
Absolutely.
Tennessee all around. Akron at Kentucky. Kentucky is a 25.5-point favorite.
Oh, probably Kentucky will win that one.
They'll win it like 12-9.
You think? You're on that Kentucky's bad.
But they're bad. They're fraudulent. Have I said that yet this year?
28-17, they beat Eastern Kentucky last week.
I don't even know if you can say Kentucky's fraudulent because nobody thinks they're good anyway, but they're fraudulent.
Wow.
You think you thought you kind of liked them?
Yeah.
Preseason,
Still
right?
think they're going to beat Missouri.
You were
but-
making the case, and I was kind of like believing you a little bit.
Well, they're going to
We'll
destroy
see.
Akron.
We'll see.
Kyle putting down the fraudulent stamp early.
Yeah.
Everybody's on Kentucky. BYU at Arkansas. Arkansas is a 7.5-point favorite.
BYU doesn't have Puka Nakua anymore.
True. He's lighting it up in the NFL.
That's true. Give me Arkansas.
Anybody like BYU here?
No. Britt takes Arkansas. I also take Arkansas.
Do it.
I just don't want Arkansas to win games. I don't know. I don't go.
You don't want to hedge.
No, I just give me BYU. I want Arkansas to be bad.
I respect that.
Don't win any games.
Giving them some bulletin board material.
Oh, yeah. They're going to listen to this. They're going to be fired up. Sorry, BYU.
Next up is Georgia Tech at number 17, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a 18.5-point favorite.
Ole Miss in the fight of their life last week against Tulane.
They won, though.
You're on that Tulane train,
yeah,
you said?
I like Tulane. They were up early, but kind of fizzled out.
We'll probably never pick them again.
No. Falling off there. Yeah, that was their chance to prove that they're legit. They were at home, couldn't pull it off. Ole Miss will win this one too.
I agree.
Ole Miss for everybody.
Got a couple upsets sprinkled in there. Kind of a boring slate.
Yep.
Oh, producer Cameron picked Nebraska last week. We'll get to Nebraska in a minute.
Shoot.
Let's continue. Sorry.
Last and certainly least.
Oh, here it is.
Northern Illinois at Nebraska. Nebraska is a 10.5-point favorite.
So
give me Nebraska.
What was that final score against Colorado?
I don't know because I stopped watching.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
Is Colorado going to win the national championship game?
I hope so. Honestly, I'm all aboard the Colorado train. Like, if Missouri keeps being as not fun to watch as they are, I will still watch every game, but also try to cleanse my palate with some Colorado Buffalo
Seriously,
football.
That's a fun brand of football, man.
Is this the last time you're going to pick Nebraska all season?
It might be.
Who are they playing?
Northern Illinois.
Yeah, give me them.
All right, I guess I'll go Nebraska. You picked Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
All right, give me them, you said.
Britt takes Nebraska.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow.
Man,
Disappointed.
you were doing a lot of contrarian stuff this week.
Yep. It'll pay off.
We will, you're going to be at the bottom of the pack the rest of the
It'll
year.
balance out. One of them will balance the other one out. I'll get one of them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll see what happens.
All right.
See you on the gridiron.
See you on the gridiron. Missouri's 2-0, guys. That's the thing.
Enjoy it.
Missouri's 2-0.
Won't last.
10 games left on this season. Who knows what happens after that? Who knows what the future holds? But all I know is Brady Cook, true son, and I support the coaching staff's decision to put him out there. And I just want to see more Brady Cook all day long, baby.
Just had to throw that extra baby in there. Are we still recording? Like, what was that?
Yeah.
Was that real?
I just want people to know Brady Cook is the guy.
You giving the endorsement?
I'm doubling, tripling down.
My goodness.
See how that works for me.
Yeah, let's see.
All right. You want me to read some names?
Yeah.
Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan D. Moore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker Daddy JD, Tim Keene, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Garofalo, Brandon Hanks, Matthew Tilley, and Luis Hernandez. Thank you.
Just like hit you all at once. Like, we've been really negative. I got to throw in one little positive thing here. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We love you so much. You can find this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
I want somebody to be mad that I'm still supporting Coke.
It'll happen.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
He's trying to do the helium thing.
Seriously. Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week.